program. Do hope you're going to keep us company right up until 10 o'clock this morning. And let's greet our first guest for the morning, and that is you, political analyst, Professor Sipho Seepe. We're looking at the issue around the African Transformation Movement, ATM for short, who has said that it will push for a vote of no confidence against President Cyril Ramaphosa through a secret ballot. This has been ongoing now for a good few months, I should imagine almost over a year, going on to 2 years. Let's understand what exactly is going on here. Does this indicate those deep fractures within the ANC, the one party pushing for Cyril Ramaphosa and the other against him? And if it should come to pass, what would be the repercussions for us as South Africans? Professor, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good morning.
Can you hear me, Professor?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
welcome. Nice to have you on the show yet again.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. You sound loud and clear now.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I think first we need to start with how democracy works. That you have elections as the first part and the most obvious. But then in between, there's also a way in which the executive is held to account. And that is through the issues of parliamentary oversight committees. But there are times when parties, especially opposition parties, feel that they would have no motion, they'll have a motion of no confidence in the president. And in that case, there is a debate on whether the president must go. And in this case, the ATM has come to a determination that in terms of performance, Ramaphosa does not cut it. And hence, they tabled the motion of no confidence. But that should not have been a problem, except that the ATM wanted this to be held in secret ballot. Thandi Modise, who was the speaker at the time, agreed that they should she'll table the motion, but the voting will be open. And this is where the ATM came in to say, no, we'll rush to the courts to insist that the motion of no confidence and Ramaphosa should be held in secret. And the argument is that if it's in secret, the voters, members of parliament can vote freely without exposing themselves to certain reprisals, especially when it comes to members of the ANC. We know that members of the ANC and of other parties tend to vote as a bloc. But what the ATM is saying is that they are convinced that if you remove a sense of fear of reprisals, members of the ANC can vote with their conscience, which is what the oath, taking an oath as a member of parliament entails. So that matter ultimately went to court, and the court ruled in favor of, recently the Supreme Court of Appeal ruled in favor of the ATM that the whole issue must be looked anew. But the court was not dictating. It says the speaker must make a determination on whether it will be in a secret ballot, but it must be done in a manner that does not put the onus on the ATM to prove. But the issue here is, when there's a motion of no confidence, the question that arises is, what will be the best form in which that can be exercised? Should that be exercised through open a ballot or through a secret ballot? And most people will concur that given the punishment that MPs expect to receive from party bosses, when it is secret, at least it provides them with a cover to vote with their conscience.
Okay. The important question then to be answered is, what happens if a vote of no confidence does come through against Cyril Ramaphosa? What will be the repercussions? Does that mean change of leadership? That's my first question. Also, in court papers, the ATM explained that its motivation for the motion was that state-owned entities had collapsed under Ramaphosa's watch. My thinking, and I could be wrong here, but was were the state-owned entities not already bankrupt due to the state capture under Zuma's watch? So that's the one issue, and obviously we need to explore what a no confidence against Ramaphosa is going to mean for us as South Africans.
Yeah, I mean, we must get also that correct. Ramaphosa was a deputy president. And when he was a deputy president, among other things, he had to deal with the state-owned entities. It was Ramaphosa who was given the responsibility of ESCOM, where he was a deputy president under Jacob Zuma. Jacob Zuma, as a president, what he does is to, or any president, is to assign responsibilities. So the state-owned enterprise collapsed under both the leadership of Ramaphosa and Jacob Zuma. But the person who was assigned to turn them around in 2015 was Ramaphosa. So we must always get these things right, because there is a concept in the ANC called collective responsibility. Ultimately, the buck stops with the president. And Ramaphosa, when he got into the position as a president, he made certain promises. So he must be held to account for the promise that he had actually made. And when he fails, any party can stand up and say, we are passing a motion of no confidence. So the issue, even if it was not him directly, the buck stops with the president. And this president has made a number of promises. And this is where the ATM comes in, that it's not only about the SOEs, but because there are other issues where there has been a failure. And the voters recently have also passed a motion of no confidence in the ANC under Ramaphosa. So the issue of passing a motion of no confidence is something that happens in normal society when a party feels that the president does not cut it. And secondly, and which is also important, members of the ANC and the parties are going to debate this issue. And it will be based on those debates. For instance, the DA is unlikely to support the motion of no confidence in Ramaphosa because they believe in Ramaphosa. And the other parties may also join the DA in supporting Ramaphosa. But the issue here is that motion of no confidence this time, I think it is more about testing the waters to see how much more members of the ANC might actually vote with opposition. Remember, Ramaphosa does not enjoy total support from his own party. They don't think he has actually led properly. And the media, especially the mainstream media, had always said Ramaphosa is more popular than the ANC. But we've seen him going to communities where he was being beat by people. People, when they beat a president, they're actually making a statement that we don't believe in his leadership. So this must be seen as having people having expressed emotion and no confidence in Ramaphosa through the ballot outside. The ATM is also saying it is still necessary for us to take it at the level of parliament. But now the question that we are asking, what happens if it succeeds? If it succeeds, which I don't think it will, if it succeeds, it means that the whole government collapses. You may have to have new elections. It means that the cabinet must also go with Ramaphosa. So that's why such motions, even though they are, people can call them many times, ruling parties are likely to support them. There's not been any motion of no confidence. Even with Jacob Zuma, he faced 8 motions of no confidence, some of them being frivolous, but they were all defeated. It was only the last one where some members of the ANC, because Jacob Zuma was no longer a leader of the ANC, that they voted for him, against him. Because as long as you're the president of the party members want to support their own president. The only time Jacob Zuma was removed is when the ANC itself felt that it can be removed, because the position of parties that they're not going to get dictates from another party. So this is just an exercise, but it's not so much an exercise opportunity. It's an expression of saying we are testing the waters. So that's where it goes.
Okay. Okay, we've just come out of local elections and the people have spoken. Obviously, we've seen the drama around coalitions, etc. Let's assume this does succeed, because obviously people are agitating for change, parliamentarians, etc. What in the eventuality that, that no confidence motion is successful, and this is my final question to you, what will the scenario look like as far as a collapsed parliament? Does that mean South Africans go immediately into a national election? How much of disruption is it going to cause in the country?
The answer is yes. And we must also accept that democracy by definition can also be disruptive. So there's nothing wrong in that. It's a part of what happens if you go to Israel, that happens many times where there's a disruption of a 5-year cycle. But it is what people sign for when they say they're signing for democracy. So if this motion goes through, which, as I say, it won't, you would are going to have a new national elections. So the part of disruption is part of the democracy. So we must not see it as if it undermines democracy. It's a part and parcel of what democracy is.
Professor Sipho Seepe, political analyst, always very willing to chat to us on the show. We thank you indeed for your time and your insights. Have a wonderful Monday.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
8:32 exactly, news and views right here on Salam Media. Next up is Dr. Shamim Jamdali talking to us about, obviously, Omicron. But do stay with us. We'll be back with you in a minute or two.